to conclude this special transmission with an interview with Peter Dale Scott, an amazing historian, professor, researcher, the author of scores of books. But I wanted to get him on today because recently we have seen a group of filmmakers who were able to interview Richard Clarke and others being threatened by the CIA if they release the names of CIA agents they discovered were basically involved in covering up the identity of the hijackers pre-9/11. This is pretty powerful stuff, and joining us is Peter Dale Scott to discuss it. Peter, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to be on the show again. You know, it's a matter of two names who are not big names in the whole story. The big names in the story, Richard Blee and Tom Wilshire, we've known for some time now, and particularly the name of Richard Blee was discovered in a book by, this is a very important book here, Kevin Fenton. He's a Briton living in Prague, Czechoslovakia, and he's written a whole book about how the CIA withheld information from the FBI. The two names that were sensitive to the CIA are part of the story, but not a big part of the story. Richard Blee is absolutely central to it, because he was high up in the CIA's bin Laden unit, and he was also obviously a hawk. He had been pushing for a program to get the CIA on the ground with the Northern Alliance in Afghanistan for months before 9/11 happened. So that it's very striking that on the one hand, he's withholding information that could have stopped 9/11 from happening. That's a general consensus from everybody, that this was vital information. If the FBI had had it, they could have brought in some, maybe the majority of the hijackers. Then on the other hand, he's acting as if he wanted 9/11 to go forward.
Au sommet de l'État, le responsable du contre-terrorisme Richard Clarke a bien conscience que la course contre la montre est engagée. Il tente de convaincre le président Clinton de lui accorder de nouveaux moyens pour traquer la tête du réseau, Ben Laden.
On a eu l'accord du président pour mener une expérience. En septembre et en octobre 2000, on a fait des survols de l'Afghanistan avec le drone Predator et on a réussi à localiser Ben Laden. On l'a observé en direct. Nous, on était en Virginie devant nos écrans de télévision et on savait exactement ce qu'il faisait dans son camp en Afghanistan. Les images étaient filmées par le drone et relayées par satellite jusqu'en Virginie. On voyait Ben Laden en direct, mais il faut savoir qu'à l'époque, le Predator était uniquement un drone de reconnaissance. Il n'avait jamais transporté d'armes et il n'était pas construit pour cela. Mais on avait prouvé qu'on pouvait localiser Ben Laden et savoir en temps réel où il se trouvait.
Good evening.
Qu'est-ce qui les intéressait? La guerre des étoiles. Le projet de défense de Ronald Reagan contre les missiles balistiques. Ce qu'il y avait tout en haut de leur liste de préoccupations, leur principal sujet de conversation, c'était les négociations avec Moscou sur la défense stratégique. Mais les temps avaient changé. Il n'était pas nécessaire, encore moins prioritaire, de s'occuper de missiles stratégiques. Il n'y avait aucun risque de guerre avec l'Union soviétique, avec la Russie. Personne n'allait balancer de missiles balistiques, ce n'était pas l'urgence, et pourtant, c'était leur priorité numéro 1. Et ensuite, il y avait la Chine et l'Irak, c'est-à-dire ce sur quoi ils travaillaient 8 ans plus tôt. Ils savaient que le monde avait changé, mais cela n'avait pas changé leur ordre du jour. Et enfin, une semaine avant le 11 septembre, une réunion de haut niveau a été organisée. Au cours de cette réunion, j'ai déclaré « Il faut armer le Predator et l'envoyer en Afghanistan pour attaquer Ben Laden et Al-Qaïda ». À ce stade, le drone était opérationnel. Ça faisait des mois qu'il était prêt. On était le 4 septembre. Et le directeur de la CIA, le plus haut gradé du Pentagone, Paul Wolfowitz, le secrétaire à la Défense, ils ont tous répondu. On ne veut pas armer le Predator. On ne veut pas faire voler le Predator en Afghanistan. On ne veut pas utiliser le Predator contre Al-Qaïda.
Pourquoi?
La CIA a dit, ce n'est pas notre boulot de faire voler des avions qui tuent les gens. Le Pentagone a dit, ce n'est pas notre boulot de faire voler des avions sans pilote qui tuent des gens. Mais en réalité, ce qu'il voulait dire, c'était, ça pourrait déclencher une polémique. Si on se trompe de cible, il pourrait y avoir des dommages collatéraux. Ou bien, ça pourrait être très coûteux. On ne va pas perdre des subventions, tout ça, pour que Dick Clark puisse financer son joujou. En tout cas, quelle que soit la raison, ils ont refusé. Au départ, quand j'ai entendu parler de cela après le 11 septembre, j'étais scandalisé, j'étais foudrage. Puis après l'enquête de la commission, j'en ai conclu que le rapport avait dû arriver à la CIA un dimanche. Ou peut-être que quelqu'un était en vacances. Je me suis dit que ça devait être la faute d'un sous-fifre. Mais je me trompais. Tous ceux qui étaient impliqués dans l'antiterrorisme à la CIA étaient au courant. À commencer par le directeur. Plus de 50 personnes étaient au courant. 50. Et ça faisait plus d'1 an qu'ils étaient au courant. Et en 1 an, pas une fois, pas une seule fois, ils n'en ont parlé. Ni à moi, ni au directeur du FBI, ni au directeur adjoint du FBI chargé de l'antiterrorisme. Chacune de ces 50 personnes nous a caché ça pendant près d'1 an. C'était une politique délibérée qui venait de très haut à la CIA de dissimuler cette information à moi et au FBI.
Vous n'avez jamais demandé des explications au directeur de la CIA par la suite?
Je n'ai jamais eu de réponse claire.
C'est une question essentielle.
C'est effectivement une question cruciale.
La route du 11 septembre s'arrête ici. Toutes les pièces disponibles du puzzle ont été mises en place. Certaines manquent encore à ce jour. La figure d'ensemble est tout de même visible. Elle est inquiétante.
In closing, 10 years after 9/11, we see the police state getting worse, the TSA, the checkpoints on the streets, the face scanning cameras. In closing, Peter Dale Scott, looking at the war machine, clearly needing a new threat. That's why you've written the new book, American War Machine, and of course it is the road to 9/11. What has 9/11 done to America and the rest of the world? What has that myth done?
Well, you know, we can talk. It's certainly, I'd like just to mention, it's not just 9/11, but it's these COG, continuity of government regulations that were implemented on 9/11, which the media never talk about, but which actually prescribed a regime for suspending the Constitution in certain respects. And that's why we got the Patriot Act and why we got the suspension of FISA, why we got warrantless detention and the Homeland Security's 10-year program, Project Endgame, to build detention camps to deal with millions of people if necessary. And the budget for that program was $400 million in just one of the 10 fiscal years at stake. So one can be very bleak about this, but I'd rather close on a more upbeat note because I think that the whole 9/11 story is really beginning to come apart. We're getting some very good science now to show that there was nanothermite that helped blow up Building 7 and the Twin Towers. We're getting this book again by Kevin Fenton, which is about the illegal withholding of information from the FBI. This is a story that's going way beyond the 9/11 truth movement, bringing in major journalists. And I think we're going to get congressional action on this, and I will be really disgusted with Congress if we don't.
Well, I'm glad you raised that point, because as we investigate, we find more and more, just like Sybil Edmonds, who's now broken her gag order in the last year, was able to document the FBI translator. It was narcotics, it was weapons, it was sex slavery, Al-Qaeda involved with the CIA up until the day of 9/11. I mean, this is just organized crime. And we do have a few minutes left. I'm glad you brought up COG. There's so many things that you've been a leading expert in, but that's probably what you've trailblazed to the greatest extent from my research. And I was about to raise the point when you brought up COG that it's basically already been implemented. That's how you see the Constitution being set aside. That's how you see Obama saying, I can launch wars without congressional approval. That's how you see warrantless wiretapping and more FEMA in our local communities. I have reporters, we just had them on earlier, out in the field in Denver right now, where they're practicing putting people in the local sports stadium. And out of hundreds of drills going on at this event and over 100 agencies, that was the only thing they didn't advertise and that they don't want press at. But we were able to get in and talk to participants, and it is just so frightening. And then you've got Glenn Beck coming out and saying we're liars, it doesn't exist, when meanwhile they have the Emergency Centers Establishment Act. We have the FEMA purchase orders for the emergency camps. We have Rex 84, the Iran-Contra hearings admitting it, with Congressman Jack Brooks raising it, and they say that's national security. Don't talk about it. Miami Herald's reported on it. You wrote about it 20-something years ago. And then you're talking about Houston Chronicle articles where they admit the $400 million, that was years ago, for camps and civil emergency. We raise facts, and they stonewall and say, camps? There's no such thing as camps. Meanwhile, I've got reporters on the ground witnessing them drilling to put political dissidents in camps, Peter. So in a few minutes here, tell folks what's...
Homeland Security used to have it on their website until I wrote about it, and then they took it off their website. The thing that's public, it's hard to talk about COG because, of course, it's all super secret. We know that Bush brought in some new COG rules in 2007, and the Homeland Security Committee of the House wasn't allowed to see the rules. They were told they didn't have a high enough clearance to see those rules. That's a pretty good sign that the Constitution's going crazy just there. And another one is, we have a National Emergencies Act, and it says if you proclaim an emergency, Congress has to review it within 6 months. We had an emergency proclaimed on September 14th, 2001. It's still in force. Congress is required by law to review that and hasn't done it. That the Americans are being told that they have to think one way about 9/11, and we will fight anyone who thinks a different way.
Peter Dale Scott, that is very well said, that they've had to have Cass Sunstein and others, White House regulations are saying our #1 mission is infiltrate 9/11 truth, get them infighting, put out ridiculous conspiracies to stop them. They could bring us down, but then separately, these people are morons. And we're like, but we have the police on tape saying, get back, they're going to blow up 7. We have the hijackers being brought into the U.S. and protected. We have, the head of the visa section at the embassy saying this. We have thousands of pieces of evidence. We have the passports magically coming to the ground and being found. We have all this common sense stuff, and their answer is, oh, you're just a bunch of kooks. But in their internal memos, they're like, we've got to stop them. And I've talked to Wayne Madsen, who's confirmed they have a whole 10-year unit in the NSA to spy on American government workers and officials and to stop leaks on 9/11. What does that tell you right there in the final close?
Well, I just want you, because you have a big audience here, much bigger than I normally get, and what they should be demanding that the political process of this country deal with the law-breaking that has gone on about 9/11, the CIA withholding vital information from the FBI, vital information that could have prevented 9/11 from happening. Congress looked at this once, and most of the relevant part of their report is still withheld. That report should be released in toto, and there should be a new investigation. And people listening to this show, it's their job to get Congress to do its job.
It certainly is. Mr. Scott, is there any particular site or book you'd like to point people towards?
Well, I point towards my own book, American War Machine, which you can get on Amazon, and I definitely, for people who want to get into the smaller points, but the technical points, this new book by Kevin Fenton, Disconnecting the Dots. You see that the CIA had the dots connected, and then they disconnected them for the FBI. That's for people who want to do it, well, you might say a graduate course on 9/11, but it's a very good book.
Yeah, the deep minutia, but that's where you find it. The devil's in the details. Peter Dale Scott, Professor, great having you on with us.
Thank you very much.